Imagine packing your life into a single suitcase, leaving behind your family, your culture, everything familiar, only to arrive in a country that smiles to your face but secretly resents your presence. This isn't just about border policies or visa restrictions. This is about the unspoken hostility that immigrants face daily in nations that claim to be welcoming. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 10 countries that secretly, or sometimes not so secretly, despise immigrants. And trust me, some of these will shock you. 10. Japan. The polite exclusion. Let's start with Japan, a country known for its breathtaking temples, cutting-edge technology, and extreme resistance to immigration. On the surface, Japan seems like a dream destination. But beneath the polite bows and impeccable service lies a society that fundamentally rejects the idea of multiculturalism. Asterisk. Japan's population is shrinking at an alarming rate. By 2050, nearly 40% of its citizens will be over 65. You'd think they'd welcome immigrants with open arms, right? Wrong. Instead, Japan has created one of the most restrictive immigration systems in the world. Getting permanent residency? That's a 10-year minimum, with near-perfect compliance to Japanese cultural norms. Naturalization? Even harder, you're expected to fully assimilate, often abandoning your native language and customs. Asterisk. And then there's the housing discrimination. Countless reports reveal landlords refusing to rent to foreigners, with signs that outright say, Japanese only. Even highly skilled foreign workers face daily microaggressions, being treated as perpetual outsiders, no matter how long they've lived there. The irony? Japan's economy desperately needs foreign labor. Yet, instead of creating pathways to citizenship, they've implemented trainee programs that critics compare to indentured servitude. Workers, many from Southeast Asia, are brought in on short-term visas, paid poverty wages, and often forced to work in dangerous conditions with no legal protections. So yes, Japan might be polite, but that politeness often masks a deep-seated resistance to ever letting immigrants truly belong. 9. Denmark. The Ghetto Laws controversy. Next up, Denmark, a country that consistently ranks as one of the happiest in the world, unless you're an immigrant. Over the past decade, Denmark has quietly implemented some of Europe's most aggressive anti-immigrant policies, all under the guise of integration. The most shocking? Their so-called ghetto laws. These policies specifically target neighborhoods with high immigrant populations, labeling them ghettos and imposing draconian measures. We're talking double punishments for crimes committed in these areas, mandatory daycare for children, to Danishize them, and even proposals to forcibly relocate families. But here's the kicker. These laws disproportionately affect Muslim communities. In 2018, Denmark banned face coverings in public, a clear jab at Muslim women who wear niqabs. Then came the jewelry law, which allows authorities to confiscate cash and valuables from asylum seekers to pay for their stay. And let's not forget the infamous lump sum policy, where refugees who voluntarily leave Denmark are offered cash payments to go back to war-torn countries. It's essentially a bribe to get rid of them. The Danish government claims these measures are about preserving Danish values. But critics argue it's just institutionalized xenophobia wrapped in progressive branding. After all, how can you claim to be a tolerant society when you're literally segregating neighborhoods based on ethnicity? So while Denmark might be all about hygge and happiness, that warmth doesn't extend to everyone. 8. Switzerland. The silent xenophobia. Switzerland, famous for its chocolate, neutrality, and a quiet but fierce resistance to immigrants. Unlike some of the more vocal anti-immigrant nations, Switzerland's xenophobia is subtle, bureaucratic, and often hidden behind a veneer of politeness. First, there's the strict quota system. Even though Switzerland relies heavily on foreign labor, nearly 25% of its population is foreign-born, getting citizenship is nearly impossible unless you're wealthy or married to a Swiss national. The naturalization process can take over a decade, involves rigorous testing on Swiss culture, and even includes interviews with neighbors who can veto your application. Then there's the rise of the Swiss People's Party, SVP, one of Europe's most successful far-right movements. Their campaigns feature posters of white sheep kicking out black sheep, with slogans like, "Stop mass immigration." In 2014, they successfully pushed a referendum to limit EU migration, despite Switzerland's economy depending on foreign workers. And let's talk about everyday life. Second- and third-generation immigrants still face discrimination in jobs, housing, and social circles. Many report being asked, "When are you going back home?" even if they were born in Switzerland. The bottom line? Switzerland may seem like a postcard-perfect utopia, but for immigrants, it's a gilded cage. 7. Australia. The offshore detention disaster. Australia presents itself as a sun-drenched paradise of multiculturalism, but its treatment of asylum seekers tells a very different story. The country's Pacific Solution policy has created what human rights groups call a system of deliberate cruelty. Since 2013, Australia has forcibly transferred over 3,000 asylum seekers to offshore processing centers on Nauru and Manus Island. The conditions? Horrific. We're talking about moldy tents in 100-degree heat, rampant sexual abuse, and medical neglect so severe it's led to preventable deaths. A 2016 leak of over 2,000 incident reports revealed guards assaulting children, suicide attempts, and even a case where a guard allegedly paid a detainee for sexual favors. But here's what's truly shocking. Australia spends about $4.3 million per detainee annually, enough to put each one up in a luxury Sydney penthouse. Why? Because deterrence is the explicit goal. As one government official famously said, "We need to send the message that you won't make Australia home." The psychological toll is devastating. A 2018 study found 100% of children on Nauru showed symptoms of traumatic withdrawal syndrome. Many have stopped eating or speaking entirely. Yet when doctors spoke out, the government passed laws making medical evacuations nearly impossible. What makes this especially hypocritical? Australia proudly celebrates its immigrant heritage. Unless you arrive by boat seeking asylum, then you're treated as subhuman. As one former detention center worker put it, "We've created a Guantanamo for refugees in plain sight." 6. Hungary. Orban's anti-immigrant fortress. Hungary under Viktor Orban has become ground zero for anti-immigrant hysteria in Europe. Since 2015, the government has spent over €100 million on propaganda painting migrants as existential threats. Their billboards show migrants next to slogans like, "You can't come here," and "Did you know Brussels wants to settle migrants here?" But the rhetoric turned into concrete policy fast. In 2017, Hungary became the first EU country to build border fences specifically to keep out asylum seekers. Then they passed the Stop Soros laws, making it a crime to help undocumented migrants, punishable by up to a year in jail. Even giving food to hungry refugees could land you in prison. The government's manipulation of statistics is particularly brazen. While claiming an invasion, Hungary actually receives fewer than 50 asylum applications per month, in a country of nearly 10 million. Meanwhile, over 500,000 Hungarians have emigrated since 2010, creating severe labor shortages. Orban's ultimate goal? Constitutional changes declaring Hungary a liberal democracy, where Christian identity trumps human rights. The results speak for themselves. A 2022 survey showed 72% of Hungarians believe migrants increase crime, despite crime rates actually dropping since 2015. As one political analyst noted, they've turned xenophobia into state policy while the population shrinks and ages. 5. Italy. From welcoming port to fortress Europe, Italy's transformation on immigration is perhaps the most dramatic in Europe. Just a decade ago, Italian coast guards were heroes saving drowning migrants. Today, they're enforcing some of the harshest anti-immigrant policies on the continent. The turning point came in 2018 when Interior Minister Matteo Salvini closed Italian ports to rescue ships. His security decree fined NGO vessels up to €1 million for docking without permission. The human cost? Over 1,000 preventable deaths in the Mediterranean that year alone. But the cruelty goes deeper. Italy's detention centers, called CPRs, have been condemned by the UN for inhuman conditions. Migrants report being held in overcrowded cells with no sunlight for months, with frequent violent raids. A 2022 investigation revealed detainees being given expired military rations while private security firms pocket €35 per detainee per day. The economic irony stings. Italy's agricultural sector relies on 370,000 migrant workers, yet denies them basic rights. The Capillato system sees laborers paid €20 for 12-hour days picking tomatoes. When workers protested during COVID, the government offered temporary papers, then let them expire. As one Senegalese fruit picker told me, "They want our work but not our lives." Now with Giorgia Meloni's far-right government, Italy has taken an even harder line, cutting legal immigration quotas while turning a blind eye to exploitation. The message is clear. You're welcome to harvest our food, but don't expect to belong here. 4. Saudi Arabia. The kafala system's modern slavery. Beneath Saudi Arabia's glittering skyscrapers lies one of the world's most exploitative immigration systems. The kafala system binds 10 million migrant workers to their employers like property. The results? A human rights catastrophe hiding in plain sight. Domestic workers, mostly women from Africa and Asia, face particularly brutal conditions. A 2021 survey found 93% had their passports confiscated, 78% worked 18-plus-hour days, and 41% reported sexual abuse. Escape is nearly impossible. Without their papers, workers who flee face imprisonment for absconding. Construction workers fare little better. The 2022 World Cup exposed how Saudi firms recruit South Asian laborers, then trap them in debt bondage. Workers pay up to $3,000 in recruitment fees for jobs that often don't exist. Those who protest face beatings and deportation. The Saudi government's reforms are largely cosmetic. While they now allow some job transfers, employers still control exit visas. And the much-touted wage protection system. A 2023 audit found 63% of firms simply ignore it. Perhaps most galling is the hypocrisy. Saudi Arabia presents itself as leader of the Muslim world while systematically exploiting Muslim workers from poorer nations. As one Ethiopian maid told Human Rights Watch, they pray 5 times a day, then beat us for resting. 3. Russia. Ethnic hierarchy of exploitation. Russia's immigration system operates on a brutal ethnic hierarchy. At the top, wealthy Europeans. At the bottom, Central Asian migrants treated as disposable labor. The statistics are staggering. Over 4 million Central Asians work in Russia, mostly in construction and sanitation. Up to 60% are undocumented, making them perfect targets for exploitation. A 2023 study found 82% experienced wage theft, with Tajik workers averaging just $230 per month for 70-hour weeks. Racist violence is endemic. Neo-Nazi groups regularly attack migrant neighborhoods, with police often looking the other way. In 2022, a Moscow market raid left 150 Kyrgyz workers hospitalized, all while state TV cheered, "Cleansing our cities." The government fuels this xenophobia. State media constantly scapegoats migrants for crime, despite official data showing immigrants commit offenses at lower rates than Russians. New laws now ban migrants from driving, working in retail, or even visiting certain cities. The cruel irony? Russia's population is collapsing. It needs 400,000 immigrants annually just to maintain its workforce. Yet instead of integration, Moscow offers temporary permits and second-class status. As one Uzbek worker put it, they call us guests, but treat us like criminals. 2. UAE. The mirage of opportunity. Dubai's glittering skyline was built on the backs of exploited migrants, a fact the UAE desperately wants you to forget. While Emiratis enjoy some of the world's highest living standards, their 8 million foreign workers face conditions bordering on modern slavery. Construction workers, mostly from South Asia, endure 120-degree heat with inadequate water breaks. A 2023 investigation found 95% of laborers had wages withheld, 73% lived in overcrowded camps, and 41% had their passports confiscated. The much-publicized labor reforms. Mostly PR, workers still need employer permission to change jobs or leave the country. Domestic workers have it worse. The sponsorship system gives employers total control. Cases like that of Joanna Dimifelis, a Filipina maid found frozen in a Kuwaiti freezer, reveal the extreme risks. In the UAE, 87% of domestic workers report food deprivation, and 65% face physical abuse. The ultimate insult? After decades of labor, migrants are forcibly deported once they're too old to work, with no path to citizenship. As one Indian construction foreman told me, "We built this paradise, but we'll never be allowed to stay in it." 1. United States. The broken dream. The American immigration system isn't just broken, it's designed to fail. Behind the nation of immigrants rhetoric lies a bureaucratic nightmare keeping families apart for decades. Consider the numbers. 11 million undocumented immigrants live in legal limbo. 4.4 million people wait in visa backlogs, some for over 20 years. 700,000 DACA recipients face constant uncertainty. The cruelty is systemic. Under Title 42, the U.S. expelled over 1 million asylum seekers without hearings. The "Remain in Mexico" policy forced 70,000 to wait in dangerous border towns. And family separations? Over 5,500 children were taken from parents, hundreds still haven't been reunited. The economic contradiction is staggering. Immigrants make up 17% of the U.S. workforce but face constant demonization. Farmers beg for workers while ICE raids destroy lives. Tech companies lobby for H-1B visas while families wait decades for green cards. Perhaps most damning? The U.S. spends $25 billion annually on immigration enforcement, enough to process every pending case 5 times over. As one border activist told me, this isn't about security, it's about maintaining a permanent underclass. Conclusion: so where does this leave us? These 10 cases reveal a global hypocrisy, nations that exploit immigrant labor while denying basic dignity. But awareness is power. By confronting these uncomfortable truths, we can demand better policies and fairer treatment. Now I want to hear from you. Which country's policies shocked you most? Let's discuss in the comments. And if you found this eye-opening, hit like, subscribe, and share to keep these crucial conversations going. Until next time, remember, borders may divide land, but they shouldn't divide humanity.